So, today I wanted to talk a little bit about shamanism and why I feel it is so important on the healing path. So, in Wounded Healer School, our core curriculum is centered around embodied shamanism. So, today I want to chat just a little bit about why embodiment is so important and why shamanism is so important. So, just to give you a little brief description of shamanism, shamanism is an ancient spiritual practice and philosophy. Really, it's a way of life. And shamanism originates from every culture around the globe. And it is as old as time, really. It goes way, way back thousands of years. So, shamanism is essentially an earth based spiritual practice. And the ideas of shamanism, to me, really weave into animism as well. So, animism says that everything is alive and has a spirit. So, that means, all of the animals, the plants, the trees, the crystals, and stones all have a soul. And so, what that means is they're not unlike us, right? We are all part of life here on planet Earth. And so, in shamanism, the word shaman is actually a Mongolian term that means he who sees. And shamanism is basically a practice where the shaman, who is the medicine man or medicine woman of the tribe, would travel into these alternate states to what is called non ordinary reality. So, where we live here in our day to day life is sort of the mundane world, and this is ordinary reality. Non ordinary reality is the world of spirit, the world of intuition, creativity, the world of the soul, and the realm again of spirit and energy. And so the shaman would travel into these altered states to the world of spirit to gather information, gather insight, and healing to bring back to the tribe. Now, this is shamanism is largely seen as a practice that is practiced in indigenous cultures, and it certainly is, and it is still practiced today in indigenous cultures. Now, it's been brought more and more to the West, especially by teachers like Michael Harner, who wrote the book The Way of the Shaman and created the School Foundation of Shamanic Studies. He's sort of seen as the grandfather of shamanism in the West. And Michael Harner created what is called core shamanism, which is exactly probably what it sounds like, where all of the basic shamanic practices, like the shamanic journey, soul retrieval, power retrieval, and there are other ones, are brought pulled from all of the various traditions because these are the practices that exist in every tradition in the world. So they're brought into the modern world without sort of the cultural sort of bells and whistles that you might find. And what I mean by that is that shamanism is practiced just a little bit differently from culture to culture, right? Because different cultures bring their sort of flavor to what they do. And so with shamanism in the West, clearly we don't have a connection to our indigenous roots, right? Most of us are colonialists, right? We've come over from Western Europe. Of course, a lot of us have not, but I'm talking specifically about light-skinned people. Our people came from Europe, right? And so we've lost connection to that in the West. We've lost connection with our roots, with our ancestry, and with that, we've lost connection to the earth herself. And the shaman in other parts of the world, especially, going back to Michael Harner, said, the people in the West are very sick, and they are sick because of this disconnection, because of the disconnection from themselves, from the divine, from nature, from the earth. That disconnection is what causes these mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual illness, which in shamanism, all illness is believed to be a spiritual illness at its root. And so we can look around at our culture and say, yeah, we're we're pretty sick, right? And that the chaos that we are creating in the West is not limited to the West, right? Everything we do connects with everything. It affects everyone on this planet. And so I am a firm believer that sort of technology and philosophy and spiritual practice, like shamanism, needs to be brought into the West, that we are desperate for this medicine, and it is medicine. So, just to speak about cultural appropriation, I am in no way, shape, or form taking from anyone. In fact, as I said, Michael Harner studied with the shaman and they said, please take this back to the West. And I do this work and offer this work with deep reverence for the indigenous peoples from which these traditions came from. And I'm really grateful for them sharing this wisdom with us because, again, we really, really need it. And I do want to say also, I have studied some Celtic shamanism, Hawaiian shamanism, and some with the Four Winds Society as well. So I'm coming from sort of a few different vantage points. But at its root, this is sort of core shamanism. Now, why is this so important on a deeper level? Is that again, this disconnection from self, the disconnection that happens is at the root of trauma. It's at the root of personal trauma, collective trauma, and ancestral trauma. Is this feeling or sense on a really deep level that we are disconnected, and even from our mother's love, if we have attachment trauma, is that disconnection and feeling of isolation, aloneness, loneliness, and even exile from, again, spirit, from the divine, from Mother Nature. And this feeling that we have to go it alone because that's how our individualized culture is right, is like we're all every man for themselves, and work hard and toil by yourself, and that model just really doesn't work. We need one another for healing. We need one another to thrive because, again, we are connected with everything. And so shamanism, to me, the essence of it is creating, it's first of all healing those rifts, right? Healing those rifts within ourselves. Primarily, that comes first. Healing the rifts between us and our intimates, healing the rifts between us and Mother Nature and Mother Earth, and the rifts between us and the divine. And as we do that, we heal our ancestors. And as we do that, we heal our descendants. And we heal everyone we come into contact with through our own healing. And so much of it, it really is based around relationship, right? And these renewing these connections, resolving this sense of disconnection and aloneness. And in addition to that, it is creating right relationship. So, what that means is right relationship with ourselves, which means living in alignment with who we are as beings, right? Who we are on a higher self level, not our ego, but who we truly are in our essence, at our core, right? And living from that place. And then creating right relationship with those around us, which means living in harmony, living in balance, living in compassion and kindness and understanding and empathy. So fostering that sort of unconditional love with life itself too. And, right relationship with our work. So it's really about balance, harmony, alignment, authenticity, and all of these things as we cultivate this sense of connection to ourselves, to nature, to one another, and to the earth. This is where the healing starts to happen. Is, oh, we start to realize I'm not actually alone, and I've never really been alone on the most fundamental level, right? And creating community around this so that we no longer are trying to heal in isolation, because We are wounded in relationship, and so we must heal in relationship. We do not heal in isolation. So this is part of that right relationship, right? Is beginning to relate with other people in the world in general, but also with people like us who are also survivors or people who struggle. Because I want to clarify, at the end of the day, we're all trauma survivors. We're all living in this culture that, at least in this country, at least in the West, that commodifies the earth and what comes from the earth and humans. And we're not seen as valuable. The earth is not seen as valuable. There is a lack of reverence and respect for nature and for humanity in general. And then, of course, for ourselves, right? And so as we heal the rifts, our whole perspective of life starts to expand, deepen, widen. We start to feel this sense of connection again with ourselves, with others, and with life. And it really is really, really transformative. So, beyond that, what's the embodied piece? So, shamanism, along with a lot of different spiritual traditions, um, it's really potent work. It's really potent medicine. I've been practicing shamanism at least consciously for many years. I say consciously because, as I think I've mentioned in other videos, the path of the wounded healer is an inherently shamanic path. This is why shamanism piece is so important, is that in shamanic way of thinking, that wound, and I'm just using childhood trauma as an example because that's what I specialize in. But that prolonged wounding serves as a portal, as an opening to awakening to spirit. So in shamanic cultures, if someone was struggling emotionally for a prolonged time or had mental health issues or even physical health issues, the shaman of the tribe might say, oh, that is the healer. That is the healer of the tribe, right? That's how they know that there's the birth of the healer through that. But in our culture, of course, people who are wounded are pathologized and medicated, right? So there's a quote by someone, I can't think of who it was, that said something to the effect of, our society medicates its healers, right? Instead of seeing that illness or that sort of soul sickness as being a potential birthplace of a healer, it's seen as a pathology. And so, again, I feel that this is very, very important to awaken this different level of consciousness and different way of looking at our wounding as a gift that we can essentially go into whatever wounding we have and alchemize that wounding and bring out our soul gifts as a result. Now, part of the soul gifts is our ability to be authentic, live authentically, live in alignment with our power, to live courageously, to live honestly, to, like I said, be in right relationship to life itself, right? And out of that wound can come, as I said, sacred soul medicine. So that might mean your powers as a healer or a creative or a teacher or whatever it is you're here to do to help. And so the embodiment piece is really important because even with something like shamanism, if we are doing the shamanic practices and we don't have a conscious awareness of our connection to our physical body, and we're not actively working with that, then all of the practices that we do are not grounded. So I'll speak for myself and say, I've been, again, practicing shamanism for a very long time, energy medicine, a lot of different spiritual practices and things like that. And I had a sense of kind of having a head full of knowledge. And yes, it had absolutely changed my life in major ways. And yet, there was a way that I couldn't quite embody it. And when I say embody, I mean live from that place, which that's the wisdom piece, right? Is being able to live your life in that way versus just have concepts and ideas that you know and knowledge that you know. With embodiment, we can live from that and really feel it rooted in our bodies. And that's the birthplace of wisdom, right? Wisdom just means we're living it. Knowledge is in the head, wisdom is embodied. And so it's important to have these spiritual concepts, which in a lot of ways are the upper chakras, married to the lower body, right? Which roots us to the earth. And that's the embodiment piece. So with our somatic experiencing is a key part of what I'm doing with this work. So with our embodied shamanism program, we are weaving together elements of shamanism, again, core shamanism primarily, Celtic shamanism, Huna, which is Hawaiian shamanism, applied shamanism, and energy medicine, divine feminine archetypal healing, and Buddhist psychology, transpersonal psychology, and somatic experiencing. So we've got the somatic piece where we understand and learn how to self regulate. So, regulate our own nervous systems and work with our nervous systems in a way that we start to feel really, really safe in our bodies and where we start to really come into our bodies so that we can embody everything we've known and learned in our lives. And with that embodiment, feel in a really deep way that interconnectedness between us and all of life. And so this is where we really move into thriving, is having this bridge of the mystical and the mundane. So the mystical again is all this spiritual sort of energetic work, and the mundane is more, the somatic, the pragmatic, those. So we need both. So I'm very, very excited to offer this bridge of those two worlds and this opportunity for embodiment and for us to all move through life in really authentic, aligned ways that serve us, serve our, our higher selves and our soul's mission, and serves the planet and the healing of the earth that is so desperately needed at this time. So I'm very, very excited. And if you have any questions about any of this, please do put your questions in the box below. And if you liked this and found it helpful and informative, please do subscribe so you can follow our videos. We release a video every week. And I will see you soon.